Hello everyone, my name is John Bowie and this is Timothy Kramer. Today we'll be talking about fuel cells and why they are essential during our lifetime. Global warming. What is global warming? Global warming and climate change are terms used to describe the rise in average temperature on the Earth's atmosphere. From the picture to the right, it shows how global warming has affected our polar ice caps over a 25-year period. What causes global warming? The burning of fossil fuels produces greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide can stay in the atmosphere for many years, which causes the average temperature on the Earth to rise. From the picture on the right, it shows a different greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that are caused by burning fossil fuel, agriculture, and other human activity. Our solution are fuel cells. This is a picture of a fuel cell powered car. Fuel cells is a device that generates electricity by a chemical reaction. Fuel cells cleanly and efficiently convert chemical energy from hydrogen-rich fuels into electrical power. The high-quality heat from the electrical chemical process that is virtually absent of pollutants. With the absence of pollutants, a fuel cell could be a solution to stop emitting greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
So the fuel cell that we decided to research was the liquid tin anode solid oxide fuel cell. This fuel cell was originally developed by Celtec Power. It converts fuel potential energy into electricity by electrochemical reactions. It is more robust than other fuel cells by design and has a higher tolerance to fuel contaminants. This allows it to operate using unconventional fuels such as hydrocarbons, biomass, carbon fuels, and unrefined JP8, a jet fuel commonly used by the military. This fuel has a high sulfur concentration of 1400 parts per million, which would usually make it useless as a fuel. However, this sulfur concentration makes it extremely useful for the fuel cell. This cell allows direct internal reforming of complex hydrocarbon fuels. This is complicated, however, because pyrolysis occurs, or decomposition of the fuel due to high operating temperature. When there is no fuel provided, the fuel cell can operate as a battery. This is due to the oxidation of the liquid anode occurring directly. The chemical equation for this operation is shown here. Tin reacts with the oxygen ions and form tin's oxide. When fuel is added, it reacts with the tin oxide and converts it back to tin, causing it to operate as a normal fuel cell. The operating temperature of this fuel cell is high, between 700 and 1000 degrees Celsius. This is due to the kinetic limitations at lower temperature and material issues such as degradation at higher temperatures. Another reason is that the spontaneous reduction of tin oxide by carbon occurs at 600 degrees C. Oxidation is also spontaneous and exothermic at high temperatures, which is inherently stable at 1000 degrees C. For the performance of the fuel cell, this, while operating as a battery, depends on the amount of molten tin in the anode, as well as the oxygen solubility and diffusivity through the tin. It can also operate at above 80% fuel utilization, unlike other solid oxide fuel cells. During testing, the fuel cell was operated over time with varying efficiencies and voltages, and there was minimal change in the open current voltage or load. This shows that the fuel cell is very durable. The single cell power density for this fuel cell was 120 milliwatts per centimeter squared, and the peak performance was 3.24 watts while using hydrogen or JP8 as a fuel. A fuel cell stack, however, can only maintain 80% of its peak performance. To make up a unit or stack, there are 20 cells in a substack connected in series, and 5 substacks connected in parallel, giving a gross power output of 280 watts. Next, we'll talk about an explanation and design of this fuel cell.
Hello, my name is Peter Boersma and this is Justin DeRosa. We will be describing how this type of fuel cell works. A liquid tin anode solid oxide fuel cell uses the reduction of tin oxide to create an electric current. Oxygen enters at the cathode and then travels through the yttrium-stabilized zirconia electrolyte. The extra electrons from the oxygen ion are removed at the liquid tin anode interface and produce tin oxide. The electrons then travel to the cathode to create a complete electric circuit. The tin oxide travels to the fuel interface where it is reduced into tin. When the tin oxide is reduced, water, carbon monoxide, or carbon dioxide is produced, depending on the fuel used. This image shows all the components and how they react with each other for a single cell in a liquid tin anode fuel cell. The same reaction occurs here as was outlined in the previous slide. Note how fuel enters the chamber and reacts to form a product that leaves through the exhaust port. Also note the oxidation facilitator, a porous ceramic. This catalyst allows for an easier fuel reduction. It is about 60% porous, but does not allow any liquid tin to seep through. This is because of the tin's high surface tension. This tension also creates a problem on the electrolyte interface. The tin beads and it leaves areas on the electrolyte uncovered, which reduces the reaction area. Lastly, see how the anode and cathode collectors, made from a cobalt oxide ceramic, form a complete circuit for the current to flow. The left image shows how 5 cells are arranged into a stack. The right image shows how the stacks can be arranged into a unit. The amount of stacks required depends on the desired voltage output. This figure shows how the stacks are arranged and assembled in a completed fuel cell. The graph on the left shows the electrical potential and power density versus current density. Note how this graph almost exactly resembles the graphs reviewed in class. The graph on the right shows how constant the electrical potential and power density is over time for the unit when using JP8 as a fuel at 17% efficiency. This attests to how reliable the system is. A 250 watt system can have a potential of 0.7 volts, a power density of 93 milliwatts per centimeter squared, and a current density of 13.3 milliamps per centimeter squared when run at an efficiency of 30%. Fuels that the unit can use are generally carbon or hydrogen-based, but can also be sulfur-based. Carbon-based fuels produce carbon monoxide or dioxide, while hydrogen fuels produce water. Sulfur fuels, like JP8, produce sulfur dioxide. Different fuels have different amounts of energies. Liquid tin anode fuel cells can yield products that are not harmful to the environment. However, using a fuel that would do this, usually hydrogen-based, yields a smaller amount of energy when compared to the more polluting carbon or sulfur-based fuels.
Here are some advantages and disadvantages to this type of fuel cell. An advantage to this type of fuel cell is that its power output is around 280 watts. The fuel cell unit we have been discussing in this video consists of 100 cells assembled in 5 20-cell stacks. Altogether, this fuel cell weighs 7.5 kilograms, or about 8.5 pounds. The gravimetric and volumetric power densities per cell are 43.2 watts per kilogram and 93 watts per liter, respectively. The power density per cell is 120 milliwatts per centimeter cubed, or about 120 watts per centimeter cubed for the entire unit. The volume per cell is approximately 35 centimeters cubed. While operating properly, this fuel cell can even reach efficiencies of around 40% with a maximum fuel utilization efficiency of 80%. One can argue that the best part of this fuel cell is the wide variety of fuels that it can utilize. Some of these fuels consist of coal, charcoal, unrefined JP8 jet fuel, paper, plastic, and much more. A disadvantage to this fuel cell encounters is its high operating temperatures. With operating temperatures between 700 and 1000 degrees Celsius, the unit must be insulated in order to protect its surroundings. Another disadvantage has to do with deposits that build up in the fuel cell over time. After 100 plus hours of use, the efficiency of the fuel cell decreases. The difficult machining steps to producing the extremely fragile zirconia electrolyte tubes is a final disadvantage that makes this fuel cell difficult to manufacture. Overall, this fuel cell is an amazing innovation to the green energy community. Thanks for watching.